Hey everyone, how is everybody doing? Thanks for coming and joining me on this lovely Tuesday afternoon. I hope it's lovely for you. It's lovely for me. It's very warm outside, and I was actually doing a bunch of work outside my house earlier today and was sweating bullets. But we're not going to get into that. I'm all fresh and clean and ready to go now. I see Kyle's here. I see Bill is here. I see E. Hall is here. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing well. Let's see. E already has something. Does anyone know if Presonus will be providing an update to S1? Mark, thanks for joining. It depends on what kind of update. Actually, when I was loading my session a few minutes ago, I saw that I'm actually like I'm on 4.6 point bleh, and I know the point bleh is what my update is, but that's like it's usually just a couple bug fixes and whatever like that. So if you can be more specific, maybe we can help out, but generally speaking, we don't know. We're just users, but we'll figure things out. Kind of around the same time as you do. If you're having a specific problem, today's a good episode to kind of just throw it in there, put it into chat, and maybe I can help you out with something, show you some examples or whatever. And hopefully you can get to the bottom of whatever issue you're having. Just see it coming in. I gotta wait for a second for it to kind of pop over so I can actually see it. Okay, so today we're gonna kind of do a better job of getting this rock track that we've all been working on, ready to go for mixings. We're gonna do exporting our stems, and we're gonna kind of go over tracks versus channels. We're going to do a little bit of all of that today. We're going to talk about what tracks are versus what channels are, because there is a difference. And we're going to say when we're exporting our stems, which you could use, and kind of go a little bit more into that. Hopefully to Impact XT. Again, that's really broad there, E. I want to help. I really do. If you're just a touch more specific about like what you're looking for or what's been causing you problems, maybe we can get into it. 4.6.2 came out a few weeks ago. I think the big change was to support Melodyne 5 chord track. It probably was. It also, there was like some other stuff in there. I mean, Melodyne and Studio One already have great integration because of ARA2. So it's already great interaction between those two, as it is being able to have all of your one-shots assigned to their own piano roll after exploding pitches to tracks for the purpose of transposing up and down. So are you looking to transpose your one-shots, but are you trying to do it at different times within the song? Because the way I'm reading it, that's what that sounds like, is that you want your one-shots you want to be able to adjust your one-shot's pitch through the song. Like the 808s. Okay, so you want to adjust it. Very common thing. Actually, if you haven't done it already, try throwing your 808s into Sample One as opposed to Impact XT. Because even just with one 808, you can put it onto just like the root note, like let's say it's C, on your Sample One, and then it will pitch it up and down across the piano roll. And you could do it that way. And then you put the MIDI information into there, and it plays it through there. That might be something worth trying. So I don't specifically have a video going over Sample One, but that's not a bad idea. And because I have trusty little thing over here, let's see. I'm going to do 808s with Sample One to alter pitch. And then maybe with the Impact XT sample pitch alteration. That kind of makes sense. I might understand what that means. Again, it seems like I'm kind of on, but definitely try Sample One, because again, like you can spread it over the piano roll and you can alter the pitch from there, and then you can just have like you could actually, I think you can layer your samples in Sample One as well, where they're velocity dependent. So if you do like a low velocity, it can be like kind of just a simple, clean 808, and then the harder you get, the more variance on the sounds you could do, where like if you have full velocity, you could have like a distorted crunched 808 already in there, and then that'll travel along the piano roll as well with the pitch changes. Could be something to look into. Have some fun, play with it. I'll do some research as well. This might be like a produced video because I gotta like look into it a little, and I don't really have anything ready for today to get into that. Speaking of today, let's get into it. Here we are inside the session. Let's go over. All right, first things first. Let's go over tracks versus channels. And a lot of the time, these things get used hand in hand. But there is a difference. If we go back to the days of analog, when you have a 2-inch 24-track tape, that means there are 24 available lanes on the tape for you to put audio information on. So it was 24 tracks. And you can kind of look at it the same way because it actually did work this way, where I'm going to get my mixer out of here. I don't have my keyboards up again. All right, here it comes. There's the thing. Bingity bang. Let's put it where we always do, over here for the live streams. Okay, so if you look at, let's just take the drums for instance, and I'm just going to shrink these guys down a little. If we take our drums as an example, and we imagine that the interface of Studio One is our 2-inch 24-track machine. If we do that, then you can think of it like this. The kick is track 1. The snare is track 2. The toms right now is only, it's a stereo set because of the way it is. There's a setting in sample 1. Loop follows tempo. I think this helps reduce the Mickey Mouse speed up as to change pitch. Yeah, there's going to be a few things to do as well where it will do the pitch, but it'll also retain the time. I think I've done a video. It was the which video was it? It was the audio artifacts, where I go into a little bit of when you're altering the pitch, what you used to do in the old days is literally change the playback speed. So if you wanted something pitched higher, you needed to play it back faster, and therefore the sample was shorter. We're going to call it a sample for now, but yeah, the audio file or just the audio wave had to be shorter because it played back faster. So it didn't have as much time to develop and become just the normal sound. Same thing in the opposite direction. If you wanted it lower, it just needed to play back slower. If you've ever had a record player, a vinyl machine that had different speeds on it, and you put a 33 on the deck and then set the speed to 45, it changes how it sounds. It's either faster or slower. I can't remember which at the time or right now, but it's one or the other. Same thing, if you put a 45 on and you play it at 33, it's going to sound a lot lower. I think that's the way it works because, speed and times and everything. So it was the same kind of thing. But digitally, what they can do is they can just pitch it up and then retain the length of the sample. So it's not actually getting shorter, it's just altering the pitch. But that can introduce artifacts. There's ways to go around it so that they're not as apparent, and they just kind of alter the algorithm to do that. I'm going to be drinking a lot today. I was very dehydrated. It was very hot out today. Okay, back to our tracks. So kick, snare. Let's just assume that we were on a tape machine and we were trying to save tracks. We could have toms as a stereo set onto the machine. So that's another 2 tracks right there. Out of the 24 track, we've already used 4 tracks. Then you have your stereo overheads. And in this case, it would have been stereo room. And we're not even going to count the parallel compression that I have on here. Slower is lower, faster, higher. There you go. So if we're not counting any of those, out of our 24 tracks that were available on a 2-inch machine, we're already using 8. That leaves us 16 for other things. Guitars, bass, vocals, synthesizers, blah, 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 whatever. So tracks are where you used to put the audio. And that's what we're looking at here in just the standard arranger view. These are the tracks. They are not the channels. Channels was very different because when you had your 2-inch 24-track tape machine spit out onto a console, those were the channels. E's coming in. Thanks. The reason I was asking was because in Logic's new drum machine designer, all the one-shots are assigned to their own piano roll after exploding pitches, where you could modify the MIDI notes. It's definitely gonna have to be something I'm going to look into and do some research on. Like we were saying, there's a couple things to certainly try yourself. I haven't dove. I haven't gone into it too deeply myself, but I certainly could. I got my note. That's for you. That's for you, E. Okay, so we know what their tracks are. Channels were the ones on the console. So channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blah, 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 blah. Everything with like the inline EQs, compressors, depending on what console it was. You know, it may have just been preamp and fader, depending on the console again. So those were channels, and we can see those inside of our mixer. So this is a channel, and this is the kick channel. This is different in the digital era. Hey, we got I think that's a new sub from Alan just a couple seconds ago. Nikki! Hey, Nikki, what's going on? Thanks for joining. So it's different in the digital era because, as we can see with like a virtual instrument, and I'm going to pull open, boom. Oh, hey, get back over here. Come on. There he is. Okay, so with our drum VST, this is the same one we used when we started writing this song. This is, when you start it off, it's technically one track. And where's our MIDI track over here? That's this guy. Make him big and get rid of that. So in the eyes of Studio One, this is only one track. It's a MIDI track. But you're able to go in and assign different outputs. Like if I go to the mixer of this thing, I don't know why it's so small. I'm going to blow it up so you guys can see it a bit better. When you go to the mixer, you can go in and change the different outputs, therefore giving it more channels. So even though it's one track, it has multiple channels out. This is where the difference comes in, is mostly with like MIDI stuff like this. So when you're getting to exporting your stems or exporting your tracks, love Studio One so much, so I'm really glad your demos are using that. Nikki, everything I've been doing since I started this channel has actually been based in Studio One, although a lot of the stuff I go over is things that you can translate to other DAWs if you have access to them. Maybe you can go, like E has Logic, and he was talking about a new the drum machine designer inside Logic and trying to do something similar inside Studio One. I try to make it so that a lot of the things that I go over, some things are Studio One specific, but it's the concepts of everything that you can translate to any of the other ones, Cubase, Logic, Pro Tools, etc., etc., etc. But my main has been Studio One for quite some time. Before this was Pro Tools, and I still use Pro Tools on a fairly regular basis when I need to, especially for the day job, because that's what we use there. I do want to dive into Cubase again, because I used to, in a studio I used to work at, we used Nuendo for a while, which is like it was geared as the post-production one from Steinberg, so it was like Cubase's big brother. And I liked it then, but now they kind of don't support Nuendo anymore, or it's not used as frequently, and Cubase is way more popular. So I'm going to do some studying and get into Cubase as well. And it's good to know the different DAWs. You don't necessarily have to have them, but it's good to know them this way. Like if I'm working with somebody who only has a Cubase system, I can be like, oh, cool, you want to do this? Do that. No, I'm an S1 user. Please don't say that, Tim. It's blasphemy. I never said that it was bad. You can get a lot of stuff done in the other DAWs. If you are using Logic, no, I'm kidding. You're not using Logic. You're an S1 user. I know you have been. You've commented on a number of my videos. So I know you're an S1 user. It's just funny because, like I said, I watch a ton of videos. The URM guys like Nail the Mix. So Joey Sturgis, A.L. Levy, and Joel Wanasek. They're all Cubase guys. My buddy Dan Korneff, he's a Cubase guy. I know a bunch of people who are Logic people. Like it's you have to know enough of them. Like Adam Nolly Get Good, he's a Logic guy, where one of his cohorts, Misha Mansour, is a Cubase guy, and they just go back and forth like how they when they're working together. All right, let's actually get back into it. We know what tracks are. Tracks were the things on tape where you put the audio. We know what channels are. Channels are the things on the console where the audio comes back out, where you can manipulate it and balance it and do everything else that you need to do. So those are the differences there. In the digital world, it's different because I have one MIDI track, which is this one here, and I'm just going to unmute it so you can see it a little differently. And sure, let's just highlight it because whatever. So this is one MIDI track, but it can lead to a number of different outputs. This MIDI track here is how we got all of our tracks here when we just I just exported them out, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So one track for many channels. When you're exporting your stems, oops, I double hit that. When you're exporting your stems, you do have to watch what's going on. And if you guys haven't seen it, Marcus Huskins, I really hope I say his name right. He had a great video that he put out talking about the differences between tracks and channels. And I'm kind of just redoing it because it was a brilliant video. And if you haven't seen it, go check it out. But here it is in a much larger nutshell because I get distracted. So let's take what we know and we'll go to we already printed our synths. So let me do guitars. Okay, cool. So I've actually been working on this song over the weekend, trying to wrap a bunch of things up, clean a bunch of things up, change guitar tones, things like that. If I take this guitar right here, come on, locate to this guy, and we have it soloed out, and let me just check my mixer for my channel. Yeah. And I'm just going to turn the inserts off. It's probably going to sound like a DI guitar. Which is also really quiet, and I just want to double check that it's going to you guys, and it is. Okay, it's just quiet in the mix, and that's fine. I turned up my room as well. So it's a DI guitar. Because my stuff is off, if I was going to go to song, export, stems, I believe this is the default shortcut as well, which is Shift-Command-E, or that will be Shift-Control-E if you're working on a Windows machine. And it actually knows that we have Guitar 2 highlighted, and it's telling me everything else that's muted. If I do Guitar 2 as a channel, it will look at my processing. So because I have everything bypassed right now, and I was going to export this stem the way it would be, it would go from wherever I choose, which I would just do from song beginning to end, start to end. It would process the channel with any effects and everything on it. So if I wanted to print all of that, I could just turn my effects on and process my channel. If I was doing tracks, you can see that everything kind of changes, and as much as I need to, I'm going to cancel and get out of that real quick because I just want to show you again. Let's do this guy. I need to rename him real quick so that this example makes sense. There's my shortcut, Command-Shift-E. Now we're on tracks. You can see coded here. If I did coded and I did the tracks and I exported this stem from song start to end, it would be the drum mix as it is through the plugin, printed to a stereo track. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, please let me know. But because I'm choosing to do it as a track and everything is in the track as it were, and if there was any sends going, it would also print those if I remember correctly. I can't remember correctly. No, yes. If it's a track and let's say you have a send to like a reverb or parallel compression or something, it embeds that all into that same stem that you're exporting. So to an extent, if you think of it, exporting your stems from tracks can make the exported files a little limited if you're sending it to a mix engineer, because if I was going to do this, then they're just getting a stereo pair of drums where it's kick, snare, toms, overheads, rooms, parallel compression. If I had reverbs going on, that would all get printed to just one stereo file, therefore restricting the mixer of changing the balances to better suit the song. I hope that makes sense. To me, it makes sense. I hope I'm just like relaying it to you guys where it does. if we were going to do channels, and again, ignore like all of these guys here. If we go back to channels and we go up top, yes, coded is there, but coded in, which is our drum VST, because it's called the coded 19. That's why I called it coded. Coded. How many times can I say that? If I do the channels, this one would actually just be the kick track. This would be our snare, toms, because we went into the VSTI and said, I want different outputs. And I want to view those, let's close this again, from our instrument where we've expanded the coded drums. And you can just click on any down arrow. So like on presence, you could expand this one as well, but it has no other outputs going on. The coded, I've said, I want to view these other outputs in my mixer. So I want different channels. And in the VSTI, you can put the outputs of these things to the different channels. So in my instance, I did kick, snare, toms, overheads, rooms, etc., etc., etc. And so when I go to export my stems and I do it as channels, I can choose individual channels. And this will give the mixing engineer far more flexibility because now he has individual elements from a VSTI. Okay, cool. Drop some stuff in the chat. I want to make sure everybody's still alive. You've been awfully quiet. I know it's a lot to take in. I probably rambled through too much too quickly, but I want to be able to answer your questions. While I'm waiting for you guys to kind of talk to me through chat, one, I'm going to get a quick drink. Delicious. Two, I'm going to go like this. I'm going to tell you guys something very, very cool. This coming Friday of this week at 6 p.m. Central Time, I'm going to be joining Johnny Gieb on the Home Studio Trainer channel, and we're going to be talking about pan laws. Pan laws is something that comes from the analog world, but it still translates to the digital era. And we're going to talk about what it is, what it means, where it comes from, what to do with the information now, how it plays into mixing. So if you're interested, go check out Johnny's channel, Home Studio Trainer. He's also on YouTube. We're going to be live at 6 p.m. Central, which is 7 o'clock my time, which is Eastern Standard Time. I don't know what it is for you because everybody's different all around the world. But come join us. Come hang out. Pan laws. That's what we're going to go over, and whatever else, because Johnny's got a great audience. I've been joining some of his, just the chat room for some of his streams recently. He's got a great audience, and, throw your questions in, because he knows stuff that I don't know. I know stuff that he doesn't know. I don't know what I don't know. He doesn't know what he doesn't know. I don't know what you know. Come on, So, this Friday, oh goodness, I don't even know what day it is now. Today's the 23rd, so in 4 days, it would be the 27th, I believe is Friday's date. Oh God! I'm about to drive home, so I'll only be listening. I'm excited for you and Johnny's show, your Eastern Standard Time in Michigan. Oh, cool. Bill, I've seen you in some of Johnny's shows. So 1, drive safe. 2, I'll see you on Friday. But I'm still going to have my usual streams, which we're in one right now. I have my Thursday, 2:30, where we'll do some more stuff. If you guys have any ideas on what you want to go over on Thursday, come on, shoot them my way, and we'll stack some stuff up. Let's dive back in, and we'll go over. We'll kind of go over some stems some more as well. So I want to show you. Let's go back to our guitar, where we were just listening to it, and I'm just going to go back over here. All right. So we know. I mean, that's really boring. It's a DI guitar of this little lead thing that's going on in the pre-chorus of the song that we were working on. Update on the song. Mostly everything is done. I retracked. Hang on, let me get rid of this. Everybody to normal. Cool. And then I forget what my little shortcut is. Command Option C. All right, collapse everybody. This is something that actually Johnny was going over yesterday, where you can expand stuff. And something that he didn't touch in is being able to just collapse everything down, which is amazing. So if I go in and I have all of my folders open, which would have all of my tracks in my mixer open as well, and I'm like, I got to find the vocal, or I have way too much going on, you can assign the keyboard shortcut to do this. And if you don't already have it, it's under Track, Collapse All Tracks. And what that'll do, and I'm going to use my keyboard shortcut because I'm all about shortcuts. Command Option C for me. It just takes all of my folders and squishes them down. If you had stuff open in your mixer, which I never use the expanded view, and Johnny was just going over this too. Show in console. See, I don't even. This is something that I never use. Is like where the, I guess it has to be like that. Oh, okay. That's why, because I personally like having just the tall mixer where I can just see my inserts and my sends here. If you don't use the expanded view and you use the console view with it expanded side by side, this would do the same thing. It would just shrink everything down in your whole session. So I wonder if boop, beep, bop, just as an experiment, we're going to open up all these guys. So we have them all open. Boom, squish. Everybody's down. If we open up the folder again, it will retain. This is something I'm finding out because, again, I don't use this view. I'm kind of just building off of what Johnny did the other day. It will retain the fact that it's still expanded. And show in console. Yeah, that's that again. So I never use this view, which is why I don't use it. I don't know if it does things or doesn't do things. I use the tall view because that's more. It's what I'm used to. If I really needed to do stuff inside my arranger, I just close my mixer with F3, do my stuff, open up my mixer back up, and I'm on my way. And then I can see everything that's going on. Maybe sometimes while I'm writing, will I have this, in the short view, and I won't even have these open and expanded because generally when I'm writing, and you guys saw when we were writing this, I'm just throwing things in and getting ideas out there. I'm working on something else where I just plug in and I get the idea in. So I don't need to see, I'm not in the mindset of mixing and changing sounds and doing stuff like that. So I never look at this. But when I mix, I like to see everything that I'm working on. And instead of having it side by side, it's kind of like working on a console. Everything that you need for that channel is vertically right where you need it to be, right where you're looking. So, everything that's on my kick, okay, here's my inserts, which is going to have my EQ and my compressor and my blah, 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 whatever my needs. And here's my sends, just the way like an analog console would have worked in the old days. But that's actually something I'm more used to. I was trained on tape machines. I was trained on large format analog consoles. So it's something I'm very used to, and this just works for my workflow. Maybe it works for yours. Maybe you like the other view where it's side by side. To each their own. Again, even different DAWs, whatever. So updates on the song. I retracked the vocals, which let's do this again. And we'll go down to our vocals. Sorry if my mouse seems jumpy. I actually think that this one is breaking on me, and this is the second one like this, but it's real cheap, and that's why I keep getting them. There's also a big hunk of gunk right there, but whatever. So yeah, if for some reason the scrolling seems jumpy, it's because my mouse is going. I retracked the vocals, and I went in and I retuned the vocals. So now you can see, in the bridge, I didn't have this before, but I have like the little whisper part. I have the lead line tailing into the chorus. And so I'm just going to very quickly go back to my mixer, mute my backgrounds and the choir thing. I don't care about that, which is the effects. But it kind of sounds like this, and we'll just do the whole bridge. It sounds really different if you don't have the choir going. But now I'm going to play it, and you'll hear the trail off of the bridge vocal into the chorus vocal. And then when we get to mixing this, you'll see how we're going to approach like compression, because something that will happen is you might double trigger a compressor if you have like a bus compressor going on. We'll get into that, and we've kind of touched on it in in some previous streams and videos and stuff. So that's where we are. I've updated the vocals. I've done a couple other little changes as well. I went into the drums and did a couple extra fills that needed to happen. Like one of the ones that you guys may or may not recall is verse 2. I am on snap mode. Where's my grid? That's why. Sorry. Thinking out loud. Yeah, that's right on. Like my keyboard shortcuts are just going like crazy because of how quickly I zoom in and out. So I've cleaned up and altered the drum patterns and everything. So let's just let me just solo my drums real quick. There was no life to them. I also went in and humanized all of my drums, which I can show you. I can show you in this guy. Are you going to show me? Because, there. I don't know why it's only... But I humanized all my drums, and I went in and I made it as if an actual drummer was doing stuff. Nikki, I love this content. I started doing this on my channel, and my bass players prefer me to just play bass. LOL, I guess tech heads are a small group. Yep. But we love it. So thank you. Nikki, thank you. Actually, I've been jumping in on a couple of your streams, and it's very cool. I like how, yes, you put your music out, but you also go into, like, you do it live. And it's very engaging for your audience. It's really cool. And you talk about, like, some of the stuff that you use and some of the process that you've done when you were working on it. I think that's really cool. I think I like how you kind of blend those things. Nerd me wants to know more of, like, this stuff, but you play to your audience, and you have a great channel, and I still appreciate you being here hanging out with us. I think I was recently seeing that you were doing some drum programming stuff as well. So you'll appreciate what we're going into now. So verse 2 in this song, like we all heard before, was very dull. It was just like following the same thing. Like, that's essentially what it was. And that's what a verse needs to be. It just kind of has to push things onto the next little section. And I don't recall if this fill was in there. How did I humanize those? I will get into that in just a second. I will show you how I humanized them. So here's the first fill. You can see it on the toms here. And this one may have existed before, but I think I went in and refined it. Kind of your standard drum fill, like snare, rack tom, low tom. Real easy. But getting out of the verse, going into the pre-chorus, this is where I needed something to kind of, one, embellish the drummer in me, which when I was in bands, I was the drummer. So, this is me entertaining myself. But it needed something a little different. So it goes a little bit more like this. You can hear the flams going, and I'm just going to go to my drums and kind of, oh, they are bumped up a little. I think I just need to turn it up in my room. My mix is a little weird, but whatever. So let's take all of these guys and make them, actually, I don't need that. I just need these. You guys are all going to be big. So you can see on the snare happening here, we have the flams, and I have those happening like into the fill and kind of leading out to it. And if I was playing this, that's essentially what would be going on, because I'd be using two hands on my snare drum. Just to really kind of push the power there. So the way you do this, let me open this guy up. Make him nice and big. On your snares, you have to have a very fine grid. So I think I went in and I may have done 32nd notes. Looks like I went in and did 64th notes. Here's my snares. These guys right here. And when you're doing flams, one hand is always the dominant hand and one hand is always like the lead-in hand. And they're always offset ever so slightly. This way it really like pushes the idea home. So both hands are hitting, but they're going to be slightly off. And that's how you create a flam, or that's how I created a flam, is I went in, I put 64th notes on the beat because I needed it to happen on the beat. And because it's 64th notes, it's like so close together. It sounds like it's happening at the same time, but you can hear the two distinct hits. The first one is a lower velocity, and the second one is just a higher velocity. Then I have, those are the racks are here, and the floors are there. And then I have a couple more flams where they start a little earlier. Sorry, I'm zooming around a lot. And they land on the downbeats. So if you're doing drum programming, this is kind of how you can create a little bit more power. You know, thinking like a drummer is like, okay, I'm going to use both hands because I want to get the idea out there. So you put them real close and you just alter the, let me make this a little bigger. And I'm only realizing now that I have a very small mouse for you guys. And I know you like the mouse to be a little bit bigger. Oh, yes, I know there's an update. Whatever. Hang on. Let me just change this for you. Yeah. Okay. So you can see, even when I have the the velocity information down here, it looks more drastic than it is. But I mean, like my first hits are velocity, what is that, 56.7%, and the other one is 81%. So it's like a 30% difference, or a 30-point difference. And they're so close because they're 64th notes. They're happening at the same time, but ever so slightly different. All right, now Nikki was asking how I did more humanizing. So there's a few ways that you can do it. You can see it looks like something didn't happen for all these kick tracks at the end. So this will be a really good example. I'm just going to highlight all of these guys. And let me see if I can shift it over. I can't. But you can see like these ones real good. Or there. That's a little bit better. Okay, there's a few ways that you can humanize. Thankfully, it's actually really easy. You make the second note louder, not the first. Generally, yes, because when you're playing it, you're putting more emphasis into one of the notes. So one needs to have more, like a higher velocity. And you would do that when you're actually playing too. Because that's essentially what a flam is. If you ever saw a flam written out on sheet music, it's a very small note next to just a standard size note in drum sheet music. So where was our... Like if I really wanted, I could take these two and shift them back. We're not going to hear it now because this is... it's just not routed. Where is it? Oops. Let's do that. I need to close this window. Oh, this one. That's why. Okay, you're not going... because you're supposed to be going out to all of these. And the instrument isn't on. That's how we do it. So let's go back in. Oops. So it's slightly different. And then if we take these to the way I had it, undo. So it shows a little bit more of an accent. Ian, what's going on? Have you used TuneTrack's Easy Drummer for songwriting? It's great for getting quick drum ideas. It is. I did a video a long time ago of how to install Easy Drummer, and I had a bunch of fun playing with it then. And the MIDI groove finder that's in Easy Drummer definitely is it's a great way to get started. I started as a drummer, and don't get me wrong, Easy Drummer has a lot of great tools. Steven Slate Drums 5 has a lot of great grooves in it. GGD, the Get Good Drums, they have a lot of grooves, and they have groove packs available. There's a bunch of groove packs available from a lot of these manufacturers, and they are a great starting point. But when I was working on this song, I kind of already heard what was going on in my head, and I was fine just like programming it in, being a drummer and coming from there. I've diverted. I need to go back to humanizing because Nikki asked me about how I would go about it. So I'm going to concentrate on these kicks, which seem to not have been humanized. So there's a couple ways you could do it. If you guys don't normally see your window like this, it's because I have it unpinned. And now, of course, everything's going to be way off. So you would probably normally see it like this. But we can just go back to making it big for you guys. And all these kicks. So yeah, you can see that they're just a straight block line going across. There's a couple ways you can do. You can go to Actions, and you can come down to Humanize. And this is a way for the computer to do it for you. And what you would do is you go to Add Velocity Range. So you can do a few different things, and because there's two options available, and I have to look at the manual as to why there's two different. Some people say it's like the beginning of the note and the end of the note. I'm in the drum editor now, so it's like there is no note, it's just flags and impacts. But if this was like a regular MIDI, it could be something else. I do need to do a little research on it. But when I'm humanizing, I can start with something like this and use the humanize, add velocity range. I have -9% and +11%. And this is my range. It's basically 12% in either direction. So when I hit OK, it's going to take the notes that are selected, and it's going to randomly value between -9% and +11% of where it currently is. And everything is currently at 80, a velocity of 80. Not like Studio One uses 0 to 100 instead of 0 to 127 as general MIDI would do. So it's plus or minus 10% around where your velocity already is. So if I'm at 80, you'll see that we'll have a variance in here. And so it just kind of randomly went in and added some things to make it more like a human would, because a human doesn't hit things dead on perfectly every single time. They get close, especially if they're very well trained. But there is always some kind of variance. Maybe you don't hit the, if you're on your snare drum, you're not hitting the exact center. You're hitting just slightly off of center. So that's what this will do. Now, some other cool things you can do is, let's say we are robot. Let's say that you can do this multiple times. I think, did I set up a shortcut? Nope. That's not what I meant to do at all. I think at one time I may have had the shortcut, but I don't currently. I did Command H to hide, but whatever. I just got a message from Johnny asking when I can chat. Johnny, I'll get to you. So let's do undo and redo. That's fine. It doesn't matter. We can just reselect. Who cares? You can go back in, and now I can rehumanize plus my variance, and you can change this each time, and it'll vary each note to where its velocity is, plus or minus 10%, we'll say. And we'll get a new range. But now you can see the discrepancies between, like, the lowest note, which looks like this one, which is 68%, versus the highest note, which is now 95%, or just under 96%. It's a greater difference. So I've increased my percentages from, instead of like -9 to +11 or -10 to +10, let's just go with that, it's now actually minus like 18 to +18, because it's a 10% variance in either direction from where it now is. So it changes that. Now, as you get further and further, that like it can increase. But so I generally will humanize once. Because what I can do then, and here's our original humanization, is I can use the transform tool. And I am holding Option on my keyboard, or you can hold, this would be Alt on a PC. And I can drag the transform tool, which is this yellow tool. And if I like this amount of variance, but let's say it's just too loud, it's too hard hitting in the velocities, I can come to the top center, this little square right here, and proportionally, it will take all of these down, but my differences in velocity, like the ratio of the low to highs, is still essentially the same. It's like compressing, and I'm just taking the volume down. Alternatively, you can do the same thing, grab the top one and bring it up. So now everything's closer together. You have an option on bottom as well. This is more like compressing because it's reducing that ratio. Or, I don't know if it's going to let me because I'm at the very bottom of the screen. You can't really like expand anymore to make the ratios greater. You can also do some really cool stuff in here because there's options like on the sides. So like you can see, I can kind of like do like a buildup, and I grab the middle one to do that. You can also grab the top left. Now you can see it's kind of like a buildup. So the kick was getting harder and harder as it was going on. So the transform tool can do a lot of really interesting things. You can do the opposite as well if you want to do like almost like a fade out, we'll call it. I can't think of the so when you get louder, it's a crescendo. I forget what it is when you go quieter, whatever. Wow, that's so cool, and everybody knew how to do that, and now you know. Because you came and hung out with us. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to start recovering this back to where I had it, because I need to do more stuff later. I'm going to turn these things off because I don't need that, because I already have everything printed. So that was some more stuff that I updated. Let me put this back on. Actually, not that one. I'm just going to hide, because I don't even need these things anymore. Here's our original reference track. Beep, beep, bop. Everybody's at medium. Collapse everybody down. That's something we went over. This, I don't need you anymore. Actually, I'm just going to Shift T to remove that track because I don't need them. Same thing for you. You can go away. And so, yeah. That's where we are. I'm going to come over here and start talking to you guys. Again, I'm going to remind you that this Friday at 6 p.m. Central Time, which is 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is my time, I'm going to be hanging out with Johnny from the Home Studio Trainer on his show. So make sure to head over there. Decrescendo is a volume decrease. You know, I guess that would make sense. Crescendo, decrescendo. I thought there was something, it had another name, but whatever. So yeah, Friday, 6 p.m. Central, I'm going to be hanging out with Johnny. We're going to be going over pan laws. So that'll be a lot of fun. And go hang out with him, and we'll probably tag team a bunch of your guys' questions as well. Why is my nose so itchy? So come hang out with us then. I'm also going to be back this Thursday. So, hey, there's Johnny. Johnny, I was just talking about you, how we're going to be hanging out on Friday over on your channel talking about pan laws. But Johnny, you came right at the end. I'm kind of just wrapping everything up. But I'm going to be back on Thursday, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. That's when we do our shows. But I still kind of need to come up with something to do on Thursday. So if you guys have ideas, shoot them out to me. Oh no, the whole pan versus balance thing. Well, it is and it isn't. The pan law is something totally different, and we're going to get into it. Johnny, it's cool, man. I'm just appreciative that you showed up and you're just saying, hey, you know, it's good to have you guys come in. Every once in a while, Johnny Lipsham shows up as well. When he's available, he comes and hangs out. I'm happy to see you here, but we got a lot of your regulars as well. And a new buddy of mine is Nikki. She's an awesome bass player. She's got a cool channel where she goes over like some of the stuff that she does. She does kind of more hard rock bass playing. She's got an awesome channel. You should go check her out too. You didn't get a message. That's fine. You gotta ring that bell. YouTube speak. All right. I don't think he was here today, but I got an email from one of our regular viewers, Audrey. He was asking about, actually, let me just pop in real quick. I got a couple more minutes. He was asking about this plugin. I'm going to open it up real quick on my bass because I think I still have it. Span. Span is a frequency analyzer from Vox & Go, and that's how I'm going to say their name. I don't know if it's right or not. Let's just go back a little. So you can see it's just a frequency analyzer, and this is a free plugin that you can get from them. And what he was asking in his email, and I'm a ding-a-ling. Nice, Johnny. What he was asking is he wanted to use Vox & Go Span to kind of do, he wanted to be able to compare the frequencies of like a kick drum and the bass guitar. Actually, that was his specific question. And I don't think he's here. But I'll make sure to send him like a little clip of this, and then I'll answer his email anyway, because, you know, whatever. Underlay can be this. Now, it's been a while since I've used Span, but I believe in the settings, you can tell it to have a side chain in, and you can have like two different inputs into here, routing. Beep, boop, boop, default stereo, dual mono. So there we go. There's that. And then I have to double check. I know there's a way that I can do another channel in. Again, it's been a while since I've done this, because usually if I'm doing something like he's asking, I do FabFilter, because one, FabFilter is awesome, and two, if I have FabFilter on two channels, so I'm going to go to my kick and I'm going to add it in here real quick. So now I know that like I have two instances of FabFilter, and it's easy on FabFilter because now I can go to my bass and I can go to my analyzer, and if I click on this, it knows the other instances of FabFilter that are in my session. I move this over so you guys can see it a little better. So if I wanted to view the frequencies that were happening in another instance, I could just click on it. So now if I hit play and make sure that my kick is also playing, I know that my pink line is what's coming in from my kick, and the white lines and everything that you saw in there is actually the stuff that I'm seeing from my bass guitar. And FabFilter is telling me that there's a little bit of competing frequencies right in this red highlighted area. So just about 73 hertz. Mark and Johnny, best of friends. So now I can make the choice if I want to go to my kick drum and find, hey, why are you thinking? Oh, because you're saving. If I want to find 73 hertz in my kick drum and pull it out, or go into my bass guitar and pull it out of here. This way they're not competing as much anymore. So that's with a little bit of 73 out from my bass guitar. You see bass here. But if I go back to my kick and I find 73, which is around here somewhere, whatever, like that, and I pull this, now that area isn't competing as much anymore in my sidechain and FabFilter. He was looking to do the same, relatively similar kind of thing in Span. I don't think it has this highlight feature that FabFilter has, but there is a way to put two signals into Vox and Go. Left, copy to routing. Might be something like this. You may have to put it into like a separate bus as well. Like if I, oops, what am I doing? Oh, what have I done? Kicks, snare, toms, overheads, room. Where'd my parallel? Oh, it's over here. Why'd you move? Okay, so it's going to be something, I think what you may just have to do in that case is send, like if we send it to a bus from here and we send this one to that same bus, which is going to be this guy. Here we go. To expand, pop them into here. Ah! Okay, so yeah, now we can see that there's two things going on, and I just need to split them. I think I need to do dual mono. It's something about the routing. Let's try this. If I just pan my sends real quick. Booyah! So you can do this same kind of thing in Span. And all I needed to do was use a stereo bus, throw Span on, and then pan my sends. So now I can see that that same relative thing of around 70 hertz is where there may be some competing frequencies. It doesn't have the same highlight feature that FabFilter does, like we saw before, but it's definitely possible. So if you haven't done this already, and you could also do the same kind of thing inside Pro EQ. This is awesome. If I sidechain, actually, let me do it on the bass. If I go to Pro EQ, oh, come on. I'm going too fast for myself now. Pro EQ on my bass guitar, right? If I sidechain from the kick, turn this guy on, now I'm going to get... I'm not showing it to you because I'm a big dumb dummy. All right, Pro EQ. I went to the sidechain. I went to the kick. So I went here, and I just clicked the kick drum. Now, when you're looking at the user interface of Pro EQ, you're going to get a pink line of your other, of your sidechain input. So you don't even need a third-party option to do this. I can go back to my kick drum as well and put a Pro EQ on here and just do the opposite and send the bass to... Where are you? Where are you, bass? I think it's not letting me because I would be creating a feedback loop. But in theory, you could do the same thing backwards as well, where your kick is getting a signal from... Oh, why isn't this? Let's do side chains. Bus one, beep, beep, beep. That's definitely interesting. But something you could do, okay, now that's cool. I didn't know Pro EQ could do that. See? Johnny knows things that I don't know. I know things that Johnny doesn't know, and we can all learn from each other. So now, even inside the stock EQ that comes inside Studio One, you can compare the different frequencies of different elements. You are limited to one in this instance, because you can only have one sidechain into a thing. But it allows you to kind of see, especially on like a bass and kick drum, where you're going to have a lot of competing frequencies in the lower register, and that's where you're going to get a lot of like low-end masking and some, build up there. You can see what's happening visually, and you can make the choice of like, okay, well, do I want to carve it from the bass or do I want to carve it from the kick? How do I want to manipulate these frequencies so they can hang out better together inside my mix? So there's 3 quick and easy ways of being able to do that with a stock option and 2 different third-party plugins. The Box & Go Span is free, so you can do it through there. And you saw it. I had to remember how to do it. It took a couple clicks of routing. And FabFilter has the built-in feature where if there's another instance of FabFilter on your questioned channel, you can just go there, tell it, and it'll actually highlight some suggested buildup areas. Why is my nose so itchy? It doesn't matter. I'm probably just going to go clean my face because that's where we're going to call it today. I want to say thank you to everybody coming and hanging out. And Nikki came in. She learned some cool humanizing stuff over MIDI. Johnny came in, and he learned some cool stuff about the sidechain inside Pro EQ. We went over the differences of what tracks are and channels are back from the analog days all the way up until the digital era now, and how that translates when we export our stems. And we all had a good time. We hung out with one another. We're going to be back on Thursday at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. For me, I don't know what it is for you, but please come and hang out. I appreciate all of your support. Any donations are greatly appreciated. If and when you do, it's not a push for it. It's just saying thank you because you guys are awesome. Friday. What? Friday, we're giving away a Presonus Atom as well, an ATOM. I want that. No, I'm kidding. But that's going to be awesome. I didn't even know we were doing that. So definitely come hang out on Johnny's channel on Friday because we're going to be giving away an Atom to just some lucky person that's going to be coming out and hanging with us on Friday. We're also going to be talking about pan laws, the nerdy origins of them, and what it means these days in the digital era. So, Bill, I hope you got home safe. I think you did because you were driving for a little while. You seem to be typing again, so that's good news. We'll see you everybody on Thursday, and then see everybody again on Friday. Please come hang out with Johnny and I over on his channel. And until then, have a great rest of your day, and I hope your Wednesday is awesome as well. All right, guys, have a good one. Where's the button I'm looking for? There it is. All right, have a good one.